So a lot has happened, obviously, in this past week, especially with regard to Donald Trump's cabinet meeting. He said some crazy things. He lashed out at the reporters. He took a moment to talk about how he stole from Marco Rubio's office because he's allegedly allowed to do that. But all the craziness overshadowed some very real, very dangerous things that took place at Tuesday's cabinet meeting. And here's the biggest one. This wasn't just the biggest one that was overlooked. This was actually the biggest thing that happened during that cabinet meeting on Tuesday. And yet I didn't even find this story until the end of the week. And it's this. During that cabinet meeting, Donald Trump explicitly told reporters that he is openly, actively working to disband local city governments so that he himself, as the wannabe dictator that he is, can run those cities instead. Now, he started off talking about Washington, D.C. And in the conversation about D.C., he mentioned like, oh, well, there's 700,000 people here. They want to become a state, and we're working with, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser on making that happen. And then I run the city, Trump said. I get to appoint the leadership. I run the city, and DC gets to be a state. Oh, that's good for them. So that's not dictatorish, right? But then he accidentally spilled a little too much about how it's not about making DC a state. It is, in fact, about him deposing city governments so that he can run those cities the way that he wants to. Here is what Trump said. We have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run D.C. I mean, we're looking at D.C. Susie Wiles is working very closely with the mayor. We would run it so good. It would be run so proper. We'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimum, would be much less. And, we're thinking about doing it, to be honest with you. Then he switched gears. Then he decided to start going after Zoran Mamdani, who, of course, is the frontrunner to be the next mayor of New York City, trashed him and said this. He said he would be a disaster, and we're going to straighten out New York. Maybe we're going to have to straighten it out from Washington. We're going to do something for New York. I can't tell you what yet, but we're going to make New York great again also. So he's sitting there talking about getting rid of the legally elected government of Washington, D.C., and he was going to run it. He would pick a person to run it. And then he shifts gears and he's like, and then over in New York, we're going to have to do something there too. Now, to an extent, D.C. is understandable. D.C. statehood is not a bad thing. That is actually a good idea. It finally gives them representation. They're going to get some electoral college votes, right? It's a good idea. Trump running it, on the other hand, is definitely not a good idea as part of that deal, and that shouldn't be a thing. If it becomes a state, dipshit, it's going to have a governor. You don't get to be the dictator of Washington, D.C. Okay? That's not how statehoods work. That's not how any state works. But then he switches gears and he says, you know what? Maybe New York too, because I don't like Mamdani. I don't like what he stands for. I think he's a disaster, so maybe I take over New York as well. He says at the beginning, the first part I read, he's like, we have the authority to do it. No, you don't. You absolutely 100% do not have any authority to do any of the things you are talking about. Any of the things that Susie Wiles, you say, is looking into doing. That's not a thing. This is a man who made an exceptionally dangerous statement that I want to disband local government so I can run those cities. That's not a king. That's a dictator. That is an emperor. I know everybody loves to say that Trump wants to be king. He wants to be the emperor. That's why he also wants to expand the empire. This is dangerous. This might be one of the more dangerous things that Donald Trump has said since coming back into office. He has no authority over local governments. He cannot do the things that he is now threatening to do. But that doesn't matter. That hasn't stopped them in the past. It hasn't stopped them in the last 6 months. They've been doing lots of things they're legally not allowed to do. And the judges have just said, oh, well, we really can't enforce it, I guess, then. this is something to watch. This is something to pay attention to. And this is something that probably should have been the biggest news story of the week. But, kind of got buried because there were crazy funny things to talk about, instead of the fact that Donald Trump is openly threatening to depose local leaders and take over their cities. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.